we prepare to go into Yemen and probably get these items. Queen Victoria, it turns out, had on her staff one Richard Holmes, and he was a guy who misappropriated a lot of these objects. He was also the librarian at Windsor Castle at the time, so maybe he was working for Zabas, as she was known at the time. A lot of these things ended up in the Victoria and Albert Museum, and back in the 1920s, they had two crowns, one gold and one artificial crown. So they decided to give something back to the Ethiopians. Of course, they gave them the phony crown, the non-gold one. Very, very astute, those British. And I just found this to be the most amazing thing, because is this what we've always been fighting for? Are these the things that happen in the world that cause the wars? Because they never tell us what really causes the wars. I know when I was reading a history book once on the Italian campaign, I was just fascinated by the fact that the Allies intercepted a German signal about finding some rare artifact in the south of France where the Cathars and the Albigenses were massacred by the Vatican many centuries before, and they stopped the war. No crap. They stopped the war. And then they had what was called the Dead End Invasion of France, where they tried to capture that ground and get these artifacts. Whether successful or not, I don't know. But the Italian campaign was right in the heat. They stopped General Mark Clark in his tracks, cut his army in half, and put together a quick and rapid invasion of southern France to go into an area that was just basically a complete waste of time. Troops were advancing in the north from Normandy. Cutting in from Italy would take you into the heartland of Germany much faster than, detouring way out of your way to go to the south of France. So, it just started that little tick of information in the back of my head to go, what are we fighting over? This, if we zoom in on the big screen here, is the obelisks that are in Axum, and seemingly the Italians stole some and then brought them back. Some of them have collapsed. These are the biggest stones that have ever been quarried in human history, the top obelisk. So it's just absolutely amazing. I think it's 170 feet high, all one solid piece of stone, and it's fallen on the ground. The standing one is a little bit shorter. Of course, it's a UN heritage site. But you got to remember, back in the day, how you can understand how they moved some of them stones for a pyramid. This thing was much larger and heavier. How did they do that? And, is this some of the power behind the Ark of the Covenant? Some of the other things we're looking into, of course, are Jacob's Stone as well. We've been following that through some old books, through history that we've never been taught. And, as we get more time to follow the trail, hopefully we can give you a report on where that ended up, because there was a lot of bloodshed over that, with the mysterious Zeno brothers from Venice having an ability to get to the Middle East and take out rare artifacts and take these things to places that are relatively civilized today. The voyages of the Zeno brothers have been spoofed for years, but as I've been determining through reading through old Royal Geographic Society records, is they are not standing on thin ice. They were very accurate in their depictions of what they saw, where they went, and what they did. It may have been hidden a little bit to prevent other people from following their trail very readily, but this is all part of the conspiracy behind the conspiracy. Is the Illuminati, the elite rich, want these powerful things, because part of the Stone of Destiny's appeal is it sings when a legitimate king steps on it. And many legitimate kings did step on it. The Scottish carried it at the front of their lines when they went into battle, and they paid dearly by not surrendering it to the English when Edward came a-calling. They were tortured and killed. Many of their artifacts were destroyed. Many of their cathedrals were burned to the ground so that no one could ever make use of them again. And then, of course, one of the other sidebar stories, just to show you how good we are to our fellow humans, while I was reading the Ethiopian news, I find out that they're involved in a contract thing, which is going on all through Africa. Countries like Ghana, Madagascar, Mali, the Sudan are subcontracting out their land, leasing it out to other countries or corporations for farming purposes. And of course, this outsourcing of food production, this is from The Guardian, April 7th, 2009, will ensure food security for investing countries, but leave behind a trail of hunger, starvation, and food scarcities for local populations. The environmental tab of highly intensive farming, devastated soils, dry aquifer, and ruined ecology from chemical infestation will be left for the host country to pick up. Well, isn't that a party? So basically, you're going to have these ginormous farm corporations growing food with starving people outside the gate, and then you're going to haul it away in front of them. Like, that's just, like, there's evil, and then there's way evil than that, and I probably shouldn't use all those four-letter words, so we'll just say there's way more evil than that. This is what they're going to do. The Gulf Cooperation Council, GCC, is going to spend $10 billion on food imports of that nature. Korea, I believe, was going into Madagascar. We have Mozambique, Senegal, Sudan, Tanzania signing on. So the Ethiopians checked out, like they paid their dues for the first trip here. Did any of the money go into the government coffers? No. Did any of the money go on deposit at the Bank of Ethiopia? No. So it would appear that the money just went to the head potentate to steal. He leases out your land, and you get to starve to death. Isn't that a novel concoction for the New World Order, just to show us how kind and benevolent they are to us poor suckers here in the developed world? And then, like I say, we give them power, we let them have their reign, and then you got to wonder, like, what do you guys do at all these secret meetings? Why is everything so secret? Because I wouldn't be proud of the fact that I'm starving Africa to death to make money. I wouldn't be proud of that at all. So I would think I would keep that in a secret meeting and try to keep a good lid on that, because where are all the civil libertarians who like to speak out about various issues? And I hate to pick on Wendy Sukiye, the Coalition for Gun Control girl, but there's probably a lot of girls in Ethiopia that might starve to death. Unfortunately, we just can't get some kid in a school in the United States to shoot their sorry asses so it's a propaganda tool for you. But why aren't you speaking out for these people? Why aren't they important to you? Oh, that's right, you're just a fraud of the Illuminati. So I guess that's why. And you just don't give a shit is probably another reason. So we see the United States is right on time here going into Haiti. We've got the USS Baton, the prison ship, pulling up. You got to guard that food, and if somebody gets antsy because they're hungry, we got a place to put you. A lot of earthquakes are really rattling Yellowstone National Park. They're coming up into the thousands. So is this going to be the big blow or not? We'll find out very quickly. We got a little more reporting on the Rockefeller who was murdered in Australia. Seemingly there's some kind of spin that he attended a swingers get together or something like that. And I find that hard to believe, because usually you would attend a function like that as a couple, not alone. You go to a prostitute alone. They pretty much expect you, especially as a male. Ladies are welcome alone, but in the swinger genre, you usually go somewhere as a couple. So it just doesn't seem to fit. The swingers in Australia say they don't really know of Rockefeller being in their clique. It's a very small group, so it's kind of hard not to be known in the circle. So I look at this as probably he was kidnapped and tortured, and there was probably some very deep underlying reason and connection. As some of the stuff I'm working on was just the name of the one of the accused. There's another chap with exactly the same name who comes from Malta, who was born in Australia. I can't say they're the same person because they seem to have different ages. They were off by a good few years, 5 or 7 or so. But it's just uncanny that this chap worked for Southern Cross, which is an environmental access agency for Australia with offices in Malta and all around the world. But a lot of their staff happened to attend functions at the Rockefeller Center in New York, which is just, a very weird and obscure thing that you'd have the same name of the guy who killed you, and they belong to the same organization, and they attend the same places, and there's just like some sort of causal link in the cosmos that brings it all together. Very, very strange, very, very weird, but it's just a shame we can't really look into it in a great detail. as a law enforcement agency, because it sounds like something's really up down there. Obama's been threatening China and Iran. You know, everybody's got to get on board and toe the line.